Hi guys. Hi. I have been reflecting on 2024 and thinking about what the year ahead in 2025 is going to mean, and a lot of reflection about why am I doing this. Like I think sometimes when you're doing something for a while, you get a little bit stagnant. You wonder what you're doing. Maybe I tended to lose a little bit of focus in 2024 because you get a bit your view goes inwards and you're not really looking outwards anymore as to why am I doing this, why did I start this. So the reason I started coming on YouTube and talking about keto was to inform other people, because I was so blown away by finding out myself, by this whole other world that could prevent gallstones, could prevent that sludge in your gallbladder, which creates the gallstones, which is the very um, thick cholesterol in your gallbladder, which is causing eventually that it crystallizes because it's not being used, because you're not eating enough saturated fat. And these things were a revelation to me. The damage to the mitochondria due to insulinemia, um, all of these health things. Like when I started keto in May 2023, on the 8th of May, I will never forget it, 2023. And it had taken me about 2 months. I had discovered it around about March. I had actually heard of keto many, many years ago, sitting in a flat with a girl who was talking about going on a diet, and she was on about keto. I'll never forget, she was on about these things called ketones. Of course, I never correlated later on in 2023 that that's until one day the penny dropped. Ketones, yeah, I've heard of this. I've heard of this. So initially it was for weight loss, but it was also for continuous maintenance. So it's every other diet I've ever done. And this is not, keto is not a diet. It's proper eating. It's not a diet. It's proper eating. Um, but the way I looked at keto at the beginning was definitely that it was a long term solution to constantly kind of putting on weight, or, so that I wouldn't have to constantly be going, oh gosh, I'm going to be starving for 20 weeks. Then I'm going to have to try and manage it after that. And it's impossible because you're eating more after the 20 weeks. So you're on a 20-week uh, diet to lose weight. You're in the gym, you're pumping iron, you're doing this. You know that in the long term, you can't maintain that either physically, you're going to get sick of driving to that place you won't have the time. Money wise, financially, you won't be able to manage it because you've put it in line for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 20 weeks, and you know that you've got an extra 30 or 40 euros a week you're going to have to pay for this. Plus, you've got the nice food you're going to have to buy. So you've kind of just, uh, I suppose, mentally established an attachment to doing it for 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 weeks. But you haven't really thought out that after that, you're not really going to be able to afford it, you're not going to be maintaining it, whatever. So I wanted something that I could do that was long term. And then I discovered it was like a kind of a cascade or a waterfall of discovering all these other benefits. I did not realize the shit and sludge inside my body. I was a massive carb eater. I was very vegetarian, but that vegetarianism involved what I would really describe as grain fed veganism. So I was really just eating grains, pasta with maybe some tomato sauce in it. That was the only veg. I suppose what saved me, it was the fact that I drink a lot of coffee. So I would say that that was probably what would have saved me. That is one of the things that Dr. Lustig, many people ask this Dr. Lustig, Dr. Robert Lustig, he wrote Metabolic, a brilliant book. And many people ask him, what is it that has saved, like, why are the obese people in America, he's an American doctor, surviving so well? Like, shouldn't they all be dead? on the rationale that they're obese or whatever. And he said that he reckons his theory was, which is recently been kind of proven by a recent study that has come out, he reckoned that coffee was what was saving the majority of the American population from having, say, some more cardiovascular events and that kind of stuff. Now, I drink a lot of coffee. It is probably the only vice, I don't like using that word, but it's probably the only vice that I have. I drink a lot of coffee. And that's partly because I'm quite a high anxiety person. I'm quite high, like I grew up in quite a high cortisol world, where there was a lot of stress and there was a lot of management of stress. So coffee really helped me to do that. I can't remember when I discovered it. I think it was about 12, maybe 15. I think it was about 12 when I discovered, say, the Maxwell House. This is the typical Irish red jar of coffee, Maxwell House. It's mainly chicory, to be honest. But I didn't know that at the time. And if you heavily lace it with a full cream milk, which is what I grew up with because I grew up on a farm, that was great. But when I was 15, I went to work in a hotel and they had real coffee. Man, that was it. That was it. I was in love. And I have never, ever lost that. I remember some of the amazing people that I met in that hotel, like really amazing people. It was quite a posh hotel. It was in West Cork. There was lots of very posh Germans, Americans, English people that would come there. And it was really rural. So it was actually in a place called Ballinascarty, which is the home of Henry Ford, who invented the Ford motor car. And he was an immigrant to the United States from this place called Ballinascarty. And this hotel was there. So there was a lot of history and there was a lot of kind of a love for the area, but it was very rural. And we served, it's very expensive bottles of wine and champagne. And people were, I never knew any of this in this world. I used to cycle to work. We lived maybe 7 miles away. Back, you didn't give a crap. I just cycled to work. It was better than working on the farm, to be honest, because someone actually paid me. At the beginning, I was just washing dishes and all that. The way you normally would be doing these things. So I discovered proper coffee, filter coffee, full, coffee. Amazing. I didn't know that I was drinking mainly chicory back with the Maxwell House, but the Maxwell House is fine. No problem. So I think that it's been a journey for me, and I think I wanted to share it. I wanted to do one of two things. The first thing, and this is really true, was that I wanted to record it for myself and for my children and for my husband, to have it in record that this was the journey. But the second thing was to share it with people. And I know that, I don't have a big voice on YouTube. But I said, if one or two people can hear that there is this world out there where you can have such good control over your own health. And my own blood test, of course, at the beginning, I wasn't sure what was happening. Got a blood test. It's not until you get the second and third, I've now had 3 blood tests on keto, that my results have gotten better and better. I introduced supplements, which I already was a kind of a slight fan of, but not always taking them. I am a big fan of supplements. Some people will give out to you like mad. I was in the health food store today and some of the supplements are like 50, 60 euros. I'm not buying those ones. Like, I tend to buy cheap supplements. Who knows? Like, you could say this isn't working, that I feel better, my blood results are better, my vitamin D, potassium, they're better with the supplements. The potassium now is a more expensive one. The vitamin D is a cheap one from Tesco, but my blood results are better. So, and my C-reactive protein, which is the inflammation in the body, they're all better. So it's a combination of both. I would say for the most part, fasting is the best thing I've introduced in my life. But you can't really fast that easily if you eat a lot of carbs. And I avoid, like the plague, hyperinsulinemia. So if I do eat carbs, which I do, if I do eat carbs, first of all, I don't eat them every day. Outside of Christmas, I don't eat them every day. If I do eat them, I only eat them in the evening. So I've had my earlier meals. I will not eat carbs. Now, I'm not like crazy. If one of the kids comes and says, "Oh, Mom, this is such an amazing breakfast bar, give it a try." Of course, I'm going to engage. Like, this is real. I live in the real world. I want to live in the real world. I want to remain in the real world. But for the most part, I don't eat in the morning. I don't eat until I try to kind of do 12, 1 o'clock. If I eat carbs, I'm a lot crankier. It's a lot harder. It's a lot more challenging to fast. Then when you eat one carb, and this is a fact, you want more. Carbs are addictive. I have no problem with that. I'm not one of these carnivores that are frantic for no carbs whatsoever. I do want to have a bit of crack and live in the real world. So that is the reason I put it on YouTube, was because I wanted to help other people. I don't have an ego. People don't have to listen to me. But the thing is that I was so grateful that I found out about that my insides mattered and that I could clean them out. And like, you could easily say, "Oh gosh, like, what a bore. What a bore. That woman's such a bore." And that's fine, but it's a revelation, and I wish I had known sooner. And yet at the same time, I'm glad I didn't know, because I have had a great journey with the white carbs. But I can, like, say dementia is something that's rapidly growing. Cancer runs in my family. But if you have the right diet, you can avoid it. If you have damaged your mitochondria, it's the epigenetics will kick into place. So you can avoid any of that stuff. It's not inevitable. The research shows it's not inevitable that you will get what has been passed down for generations. It's in your epigenetics, but it'll only be triggered if you suffer from long-term hyperinsulinemia, from what I've seen of the research. So that means that you're constantly eating carbs, you're constantly triggering this insulin response that is damaging your mitochondria. And your mitochondria need to be protected. Listen, over Christmas, I've probably given them a bit of a kicking. But an occasional stress on your mitochondria is actually okay. Your body kind of needs to be metabolically flexible. And I think that's what I like about my dietary approach, is that I cut both ways. I am fat adapted, so when I'm not eating, my body will use its own fat and it will switch into that quite easily. So I'm not insulin resistant. And if I want to eat carbs and have glucose in the blood, my body will handle the glucose very, very well. And I think that's the key point. But it's all about protecting the mitochondria. So guys, I'll leave you with that. And I do understand that some of this is very confusing. You're saying, what do I need to know about mitochondria? What do I need to put this? But the thing is, what you want, lovely, clean fluid insides and everything flowing beautifully. No gallstones, no sludge in the blood, no atherosclerosis. And I have gotten rid of all of that for me. So ketogenic diet really does work. And having carbs every now and again is okay. Talk to you soon. And I hope you're having a great January. It is so good so far. And I think 2025 is going to be an absolutely fantastic year. Take care. Bye.